so far so good. We've been able to stay very unbiased because of that, but it's not for lack of some of the major platforms trying to make us biased. Our name shows up first in your drop-down. You're like, why? Well, because our statistic shows that 71% of people don't go to the second drop-down choice. And little stuff like that gets annoying over time. But, so I'll just fast forward through a couple things. Oh, that's pretty cool. The global discovery is pretty cool. Oops, let me go back. Basically, when we were stamping thumbprints, the third moving part we have in the solution, which I didn't talk a lot about, it's a kind of a dealer's choice. It's a virtual appliance we call the network monitoring station. Think of it like a camera in the hallway. It's simply sitting there watching all of these thumb-printed TCP/IP packets or appended UDP traffic flying by and saying, okay, it was Tyler, where was he coming from, where was he going to, what was the network round-trip time, what was the latency, what was the bandwidth being, what was the size of the payload that he was carrying. But an interesting thing that happens when you do that is you get a really interesting and colorful map of your entire environment and where a desktop communicates with different servers, and we gave you the ability to click on any one of those links and see the condition of that network link, or click on the actual device or the computer system and drill down and see its metrics. And you can also set this up by like known port groups, so you don't have to have our agent on application servers. Some people do. We have about 20 different versions of the agent, 32, 64-bit Windows, and most of the major distros of Linux we've written an agent for. So some people like to put the agent on Linux application servers too. But you don't need to. You can just watch the port groups, and you just won't see what's happening inside the guest. So I'm just psyched that you guys and gals invited me to come down here, aside from a little bit of traffic. Hold on, I have to throw my Tyler Rocks slide. But I'll happily take any questions, or I know I rambled on a little bit there. I've got business cards, so I'll hang out in the back. If you want to take me up on the offer, we're a low spam company, so grab my card. I'll send you to a download link and get you a license key. And if you like it, hopefully we hear back from you. And if you don't, hope we hear back from you too. I'd like to know what we can do better. So that's what we're up to.
Do we have any questions for Tyler?
Yeah, I need more caffeine. Yes, I do. Yeah. Okay.
You're looking at many different events, and you're taking snapshots quite often.
Correct.
How much storage are you using? How much are you filling up your?
So I'll give you.
How long do you keep that?
Great question, and great question. So it's completely configurable. You can inspect the machine. We have two basic metrics that count the most. Number one is the sample frequency, and the second is the callback frequency. And you can configure both. So I could say, snapshot this machine every 30 seconds, once a minute, once an hour, once a day, once a week, at a custom time. Doesn't matter. That's number one. And I can also say send back the cache file of the measurements you took every minute, every hour, once a day, once a week, after hours, weekends. We let you configure all that as well. The rule of thumb for us is 500 users for 30 days at default rates, which is snapping the machine every 10 minutes. Will create about 5 gigs of data store space, and it's also the size of network traffic that I'm going to ask you for as my cache files all come in. We built a pretty cool, we call it a wobble, into the algorithm, so when the agents call home, or when the agents tell the cache file to call home, because in some of our deployments we're at like 6,000 to 8,000 seats, bad things happen, network guys and gals see like 6,000 people hitting an IP at one time, they're like, well, what's going on? So there's a little wobble, so they don't actually do it in real time at the same time. So how long is the data kept? As long as you want. I mean, it's your virtual appliance. It's a VM, so you can add disk to it just like anything else. There are some clipping features in it, so you can auto-archive. But since it's a VM, most people throw it right into their normal backup and replication plans. Some folks replicate it when it gets kind of large and robust, but you back it up just like any other VM that you'd like to. I think there was another question here too.
Almost that same.
Almost identical. Yeah. Some people ask what kind of load we put on the machine when we're looking. So we monitor ourselves. We see ourselves as a system process. We use 0.7 to 1.1% of CPU, depending on what else is happening in the guest while we're doing our inspection. We'll consume, with the agent, the full agent version, about 5 megs fully hydrated for that agent, that actual system service. The virtual agent, about 4 megs of local memory that will take up. Again, network is completely configurable. You can decide when you want to use network. But the defaults are that it will sample machine every 10 minutes and call back once an hour.
So expand a little bit on the server itself, and if you have multiple locations.
Sure. Yep. So you can the cool thing is it's like a hub and agent architecture. So best practices would say put the hub where you are thinking about, sorry, I didn't know we were being taped. Hi, Mom. The theory would be that put the hub where you think you have the best intentions of housing the virtual desktops, and yet the agents can go out. We have folks that have a hub in New York City, and they have agents pushed out to, Bombay, New York, Tokyo, and all of those will communicate back. Because the other interesting thing that the agent does when it stamps the IP packets is that it only has the ability to call back and resolve itself to the IP address of the hub that spawned the agent. So over open internet, it doesn't matter. You don't need VPNs or anything tricky or any voodoo to happen to allow that cache file to find its way home. Most organizations who are thinking about fairly robust or aggressive BDI projects will have a couple of data centers they're considering. So in that case, we'll say we'll stand up a hub there. We give the software away to most of the platform players and most of probably your professional service partners that work with you to use it as a tool to help them do work with you. And then our hope is that after that you'd want to keep it as a monitoring solution. And so the theory would be try not to make cost an imperative thing. So if you have lots and lots of users in lots and lots of countries, take a look at them and then just decide if what you saw was of value. That's probably the best way to answer that.
Let's say if you are an office in France, they are in NAT. How do you know who's connected? The NAT.
Okay. So what we're going to do is when we're stamping the packet at the time it's created inside of the OS. So I'm sending out a packet that's now trying to find its way home. So I'm getting my identity of who it was that initiated and created the packet. That's the first thing I want to look at. I'm looking at it from the side, from behind that. I want to know. So the traffic might be blind. I mean, to anyone else looking at that packet, it's going to look meaningless. They will have no idea, whose identity it is. I will tell you a funny story, though. In Germany, we have to strip out username because they have some major privacy laws. So we built a filter in that you can either use a schema that replaces username with something that's completely random or not. So there's probably, I'm not the smartest one at our company, there's probably a lot of people that would be able to talk to you about if you needed to screen in a more secure way. We do a lot of work for some three-letter agencies, so I'm guessing that we've done some pretty good security wrappers around making sure that the identity, once it's flowing out there across, open port 80, makes its way back to where it's supposed to. There's not someone in the middle going, oh, very interesting.
Thank you, Tyler.
That was hot all night.
So we got a Celtics game.
Okay, shoot, that's right. That has power?
All right. First of all, I do want to apologize for the heat this evening. As you know, this is our second evening here. We have a lot more people than we had last month. And we've learned a new lesson. We learned that IBM shuts the air conditioning off in the building at 6 o'clock unless someone makes prior arrangements. So rest assured that if we're here in the future, we will have prior arrangements. Okay?
Guest.
All right. So again, I'd like to thank both of the folks that came up, I guess all three of the folks. Let's be right. All three of the folks that came up and spoke with us tonight. Tom, you want to take over?